Hello, beautiful friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with this week's weekly check-in spread for June 30th through July 6th. So let's see what this week has in store for us. For many of us here in the US, we have a holiday weekend due to it being July 4th, or America's birthday, so to speak. But for the rest of the world, I don't think you guys celebrate that. So let's see what we can expect this week. So I will be using the same spread that I used in the first video I posted about this weekly spread, or weekly check-in spread. Let's see. What do we need to know for this week? We have the Generosity of Earth, or the Queen of Pentacles reversed. What do we need to do? The Eight of Fire reversed. All right, what do we need to release? The Two of Fire, or the Two of Wands. And what do we need to contemplate? The Tower. All right, well, that's fine. And I'm also going to just pull an oracle card just to kind of see where this reading will take us. All right, so we need confidence. All right. Well, for the very first card, we have this is the To Know card. So for this being the Queen of Pentacles reverse, it seems like maybe this week we really need to be mindful of not pushing our physical selves a little too hard, or feeling like we have to do everything on our own, or that everything needs to fall on our shoulders. Now, the other thing with the Queen of Pentacles is I feel like this can be very much career, money, finances, the physical body, our physical spaces. And so there may be kind of a reminder of maybe pulling back some of that energy within ourselves and not feeling like we have to get everything done, or that we have to kind of continuously put a lot of that responsibility of a lot of those areas of our lives, and feeling like we have to handle everything on our own. Now, I do feel like the Queen of Pentacles can kind of be one of these cards that, you know, can make us feel like, oh, I have it all together, like everything's coming into or falling into place. I know exactly what I'm trying to get done. I know exactly what I'm trying to do. And with this being the To Know card, this is what we need to know. I feel like this is almost a reminder for us to be very mindful of where we are expending a lot of our energy, what we're focusing on, where our thoughts really are going in a lot of ways, and what we are physically doing. With this being such a physical card, I feel like it's a reminder for a lot of us that, like, hey, we don't always have to keep doing everything. Maybe we need to kind of take a step back and do what our physical bodies need first. So maybe this is going to be a good week to understand that it's okay for us to rest, that it's okay for us to not always continuously push forward or feel as though we have to like meet every single demand that arises. So I think with the Queen of Pentacles reverse, it may just be a reminder that we don't always have to have a strategy and plan for everything that we're trying to do. There may also be a reminder of just maybe taking some time out to take care of ourselves this week and being a little bit more gentle with what we physically may need. There may be a lot of like a sense, like, I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but I know like I've been exhausted. And I think it's just that Saturn stationing retrograde. I think it just really is wearing me out. So I'm just trying to be very mindful of that energy with myself and not trying to push too hard past that. And I think for a lot of us, especially with us here in the US, it's going to be a short week for many of us. So a lot of us are wanting to just maybe take a step back, you know, relax a little bit, not feel like we have to do so much in order for us to enjoy a little bit of time off. Now, next to that, we have the To Do card. Now, this is the Eight of Fire, or the Eight of Wands reverse. So to me, this card can just be a signifier that maybe we may not be feeling that sense of direction and that push into the next thing just yet. So we may be wanting to kind of get out there and hit the ground running, but for whatever reason, this is kind of saying, hey, we got to kind of internalize a little bit of this. Now, there may be some stuff that is coming up that is requiring a lot of our attention, a lot of our focus. And so maybe this is why we feel like things aren't really like moving quite as quickly as we want. It could also be the fact that it's going to be not a full like work week for many of us. So there may be a little bit of this energy of like, oh, I should maybe postpone something until the next time, or I need to kind of like wait on things. There may be some things that have to be kind of put off or reconsidered before we kind of move into the next phase. The other thing with this card is that this is usually a card that says like, oh, you're getting your second wind, like you are like out there, you're getting that structure, you're getting that stability, there's that momentum, that like forward movement. So for me, this is almost saying like maybe this is something that is going to be a little bit more internalized, with this being like what we need to do is maybe putting that focus and attention back on ourselves and not being so driven by the external, or not being so driven by what we think we should be doing, if that makes sense. And I think with this being the to-do card, I feel like maybe it's asking us to kind of look at the internalized creative whims that we have, maybe taking some time out to kind of reconnect with our personal sense of passion, maybe even considering some of the things that like have been driving us, what we want to do, what we feel we want to, like where we feel we want to go. And with this being the to do in the spread for the week, I think it's almost saying like, what have you been neglecting? What haven't you had a lot of time to focus on or concentrate on? And how can we kind of prepare ourselves so that when the time comes, we can move forward. We can kind of see the direction that things are trying to kind of shift for us. So I think with these two kind of reversed cards, there is kind of the sense of maybe this week is going to feel like we're taking a little bit of a step back. Maybe things are not moving quite so quickly, which really aligns with the astrological kind of things that are going on with Saturn stationing retrograde. It's been in the sign of Pisces. So again, we're kind of getting a sense of like, oh, maybe we need to kind of like go back and kind of check our work and make sure like we're doing what we need to do. And there is this sense, especially with any of the retrogrades, where we have this, I don't want to say like drive, but maybe encouragement from the universe to kind of recheck, to redo, to like any kind of RE verbs. That is definitely going to be what most of the retrogrades want us to put a lot of our intention and focus on, especially with whatever planet is going retrograde, and also whatever house that retrograde is transiting in within our natal charts. Sorry, my nose is starting to run. All right. So we move on to what we need to release. We have the Two of Fire here. Now, this is a card of like getting out there, spreading our wings, of like, you know, kind of bringing together some of our plans, kind of figuring out what it is that we want for ourselves for the long term, but there's still a little bit of a sense of newness, or a little sense of not quite put together all of the way. And I think with this being the two release card, I think it's almost saying like maybe we need to stop putting so much of our expectation that we are going to know what this next step is going to look like, or even understanding that maybe things are not really going to work the way that we kind of have in our mind. And so there's nothing that we can really plan for at this time, because we just cannot plan for every single contingency. We cannot plan for every possibility. That's just not how life works for many of us. Many of us kind of create a plan, expect circumstances to kind of move a certain way. We may have a little bit of wiggle room in some areas, but many of us can be a little bit, what's the word? I was going to say like restricted, but like stringent, or kind of expect things to be a certain way, or expect things to kind of work out a certain way. And so there is a little bit of this sense of maybe having to understand that not everything that we would like to happen a certain way will always work out the way that we would want it to. So it's not to say that everything is going to go wrong. It's maybe saying that right now you just don't have enough to fill in the entire picture. So it's hard for you to plan as to where this picture is going or how this is going to turn out. There is something that maybe in the works that is maybe a little bit beyond your control. And so I think with the Two of Fire, where it's saying that we need to release, is that maybe it's more of a reminder for us that we can try to make the shifts and the changes that we would like, but there's also this call to understand that we can't really anticipate everything and we can't have everything really unfold the way that we would like it to. Sometimes these unexpected happenings are happening because something needs to change, whether it's a perspective, whether it's, something within ourselves. And I think with this being the to release card, I think it's really just saying like, hey, don't be so rigid that you kind of close yourself off to other possibilities that are trying to kind of happen for you or happen at this time around you. Now, finally, for the tarot cards that I pulled, the final card here is the to contemplate card. And here we have the Tower. So to contemplate to me really means that maybe we need to kind of be mindful, be expectant, to kind of think on something to kind of encourage further growth and changes in perspective. And here we have the Tower. Now, this is one of these cards where I feel like a lot of people have a lot of fear about it. It is very much a card of like unexpected changes, the, shifts that are kind of beyond our own control. This can just talk about not so much rebirth, but maybe like rebuilding. This is very much a card that it's encouraging us to kind of understand that even if we feel like we know exactly what's been going on or what will happen, the universe has a way of shifting and changing not just our perspectives, but also the things that we are experiencing and how we experience them. And I think with the Tower, with this being a to contemplate card, that this is maybe saying that maybe there are some breakdowns that need to happen for you to really truly have some of the breakthroughs that are trying to kind of come into your perspective, come into your energy. And so there may be this kind of sense of really recognizing how little we really do control. And with the Two of Fire or the Two of Wands kind of saying like, hey, I want to like strategize, I want to plan things, I want to like spread my wings, I want to do these different things. The Tower is kind of here saying like, hey, things are going to happen whether you plan for it or not. Changes will inevitably, come and touch our lives no matter what we plan. And I think with the Tower, with this being a major card, is that maybe it is kind of saying that push to shift, that push to change, and this like need for something to be different. Is it really coming from a place of you being prepared for the changes as they're trying to happen? Or have you been kind of holding back because you're becoming comfortable with the life that you've built, or you've become kind of comfortable with the things as you have known them? So I think that the Tower here for a to contemplate on card, I think it's really just kind of saying like, hey, we have to be ready to move with the energy as it comes. The thing with the Tower is that it usually comes in, it shakes things up, it kind of removes whatever we've been hanging on to, and it's not meant to make us like feel like everything that we've worked toward is not what we should have been investing ourselves in or putting our energy into. I think the Tower is more here to kind of say, hey, what you have built is not really what you need in a lot of ways. And I know when we're going through a Tower moment, it can be very challenging for us to be like, oh, everything I've done or everything I've put a lot of my faith and effort into is not what the universe is trying to kind of make me have. It doesn't always have to be this like thing of you've been doing it wrong. Maybe it's a switch up. It's more of like, okay, the direction just needs to change. And in order for that to change, you can't keep going this way. It may require a U-turn. It may require you having to start off on a, not really worn down path or an unfamiliar way. So there is a little bit of this sense of having to understand that the things, the redirections, are not meant to have you feel so removed from what it was that you were working towards. It's more of an understanding that we have to see that the universe is continuously pushing us into different parts of ourselves that we may need to kind of work through as we are here on Earth School, right? And I think the Tower is one of these cards where it is really, it's going to bring unexpected changes in some ways, or maybe that is something, since this is the to contemplate card, I feel like essentially it's almost saying like, you need to kind of think on like, well, if things shift, if things change, if there's a breakdown, if there's a breakthrough, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for the plans that you're trying to kind of put down? What does it mean for the life that you've kind of tried to build around yourself, whether it's the physical or the more like internalized life that you're building for yourself? What does that mean for a lack of things not really going the way that you have intended? So I think that maybe this week we may have some I don't want to say revelation, but maybe there will be some sort of understanding that comes to the surface that allows us to maybe see things a little bit more clearly, to really recognize what we need to do in order not to anticipate, but maybe to feel a little bit more stable in our foundation changing, if that makes sense. So I hope that that makes some sort of sense. Now let's look at the oracle card that I pulled. So here we have confidence. So this is just saying, hey, you need to take up space. You need to love yourself. You need to be you because you are worthy. When I think of the element of fire, and now that we're like in the middle of summer, I feel like it's very much this energy of like coming out of your shell, allowing yourself to be warmth, to be warmed up, I guess, to have a sense of warmth radiating from you. And I think confidence doesn't always have to just be something that we experience during certain parts of the year. I feel like confidence is almost saying like, hey, you need to allow yourself to kind of step into this energy, to really step fully into who you are, to really shine, to really, give yourself permission to say, it's okay for me to love myself as I am, even if there are things that have happened that don't really seem to make a lot of sense in my life. I think confidence is going to be the lesson for us this week because it's saying, hey, we need to be confident as we're kind of moving through things that maybe are challenging or things that are unexpected. And I think the biggest thing with confidence is that it's almost saying, okay, what do we need to do to kind of take up that space within our lives to really understand that we are worthy of the things that we want, that it's okay for us to demand and take up space in certain places and in certain circumstances, especially within our lives. The thing I'm kind of like getting is like, oh, we all need to kind of step into this like main character syndrome, but not in the way that is like detrimental to the relationships around us, more of just like treating ourselves like we are the main characters of our lives, because a lot of us don't. And I think that's kind of the lesson here. And I think with Cancer season, there's a lot of sensitivities coming up. I think with Saturn retrograde, there is also like this sense of like, oh, I don't want to like keep pushing and doing things, and I don't want to, be so like hard on others or whatever. And I think that this is almost saying like, okay, we have to be confident. We need to take up space. We need to kind of connect with ourselves, and we need to stop hanging back to appease and make other people comfortable. So I hope that this makes sense. Let me know what you guys think of these little weekly check-ins. And if you guys enjoy them, I find it to be a very encouraging piece of like my weekly kind of self-care. I do a spread for myself, and I just kind of journal about it and then just kind of see how those things unfold. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care. Have a fabulous rest of your weekend. Make good choices. Bye.